Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast. I'm your host, Mike, and we're in association with Lucky Star Gin as always. Today we're going to have another little peek behind the amber curtain, and we have a very special guest with Ben Hautt. Hello, Ben. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on and giving up your time. We're going to find out all about you and your role at the club, which is going to be great because I think there's a fairly wide range of opinions and assumptions already. It's been hailed as some as the man who's going to turn Gander Green Lane into flats, and others as the rich American who's going to bankroll us to the Champions League within 5 years. I suspect that it's going to lie somewhere in the middle, very Sutton, very dull, but somewhere in the middle of those two extremes. Don't forget to engage with the podcast. The likes, shares, retweets, and everything is really, really important. You meet other Sutton United fans. You help me reach other Sutton United fans. Thanks to everyone who's doing it. What I'm saying, basically, guys, is validate me, love me. Come on, get them in there. But Ben, it's really nice to kind of, for people like me, just who turn up at the ground, watch the game, go home, to kind of see all the bits that go on behind the club. And this is one of the things I really enjoy doing and finding out a bit more. I'm quite nosy, really. So to get us started, I had sort of 6 or 7 starting points to guide it. So it's all going to be a bit of a jumble. So I think the best place to start is to clear up some of those misconceptions and mystery, and tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us your intro and the role at the club.
Sure. Unfortunately, I don't think either of those things. I don't even know if it's in between two untruths. But it's been a long journey. Really, my role at the club is director, and I take that very seriously. Have made some investment, but that's really more to align, I think, with the club. And it's one thing to give advice, opinions, and work. It's another thing to have something at stake. And so it was super important for us to do that, just so that we're more or less putting some money where our mouth is. My role at the club, I'm still figuring out. I think at the end of the day, a football club is a small business. And so having started my own business in my 20s and having run one for 15 years now with 110 employees, it's actually quite similar to a football club. And so really the role that I see myself in right now is using all that experience of running a business in the States. I run a commercial real estate firm, which is not footballers and commercial real estate brokers are actually quite similar. Using some of that knowledge and acumen to basically enhance, the wonderful club that is Sutton United.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure you're aware of social media and how we kind of rely on clickbait and cheap shots and everything to get the engagement. So here it goes. Let's go with a divisive subject: soccer or football?
Football.
So obviously, from the States, football isn't a top in your face as you were growing up? It is a bit more now, but not in your face. But so how did you kind of start enjoying football and getting into football?
Well, I brought a picture.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can't see it, but that's me. Or unfortunately your listeners can't see.
Oh, it's on YouTube. They'll see.
Oh, it is. Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, then. There you go.
Beautiful.
Yeah, look at that beautiful hair.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Don't worry.
So, yeah, I think our founding fathers. We drink coffee instead of tea. We turned rugby into American football. It's not cricket; it's baseball, and there's a lot of things like that. But no, it's definitely football. It was invented in England. That's the true birthplace and home place of football, and part of the reason why I'm involved with Sutton is because that's where it is. Like London is the epicenter for football around the entire globe. There's an energy in the city and just the people and the transactions, and it's just incredible. And there's nowhere else to do that. I think if you want to be in movies, you got to go to Hollywood and LA. And if you want to do finance and stock, that's probably New York. And so if you want anything related to football, London is the place.
Perfect. I mean, my brother was actually in New York a couple of weeks. He's not a football fan at all. And he was in New York, and on one of the tours, they were very proudly telling them about the two football teams they've got. It's a choice of two teams. And he was like, oh, how cute. I could name 9 teams and I don't like football. So because I was like, oh, did you get to go to one of the games? Because they're all very big events. But I never really considered that idea that, actually, they're big, massive events because there's limited choice. But I mean, I saw the picture, and you mentioned you play as well, or still play, or?
Yeah, still play Wednesday nights. I'm in a 7v7 league. It's open, so all age groups. I'm 41, and part of the reason I shave everything is so they can't see the gray hair. I don't get taken advantage of. I play on the left side because I have no left foot, and I shoot with my right. And I struggle out there like everybody else.
Well, I say it's a choice. I mean, a limited choice is still a choice. So that's where I go. And I played in the fan game. I use it loosely. I played on the left because I basically said, well, I'm equally rubbish everywhere. So put me where people expect me to be rubbish. There's obviously been a massive sort of interest in football in America, partly a lot driven by the Wrexham documentary. And a lot of that was the main focus of promotion. So do you kind of, because one thing that's really, I'd say, confused us over here is there is no kind of pyramid structure where you could get promoted and relegated. And it's that jeopardy of, if you're rubbish, you go down. So do you think it will ever change that with that kind of excitement it brings? Is there sort of a swell of people going, actually, this is quite good?
Yeah. Well, first on the Wrexham thing, we were looking at clubs way before that. And so when the Wrexham documentary came out, I was actually really saddened because I thought that people would think that this had anything to do with it, and it does not. And if anything, it makes things way more difficult to run a football club, just with the arms race of money and fighting for players and weekly wages and the like. So that's been, I'd say that's been detrimental just in general. So I'm not a fan of any of that. And I hope we kill them on February 13th, by the way. Which we could do some fun there and poke fun at Ryan Reynolds. That's a different podcast. In talking to MLS, there's zero desire for any type of promotion relegation system there. It's a closed end elite billionaires club in the U.S., no matter what the professional sport. There's a separate league called the USL that is trying to create a promotion relegation. It's very difficult in the shadow of MLS because that is the top tier. So you almost have like two totally separate leagues in competition with very little collaboration. And the very little collaboration is the US Open Cup. And MLS came out and said, yeah, we're not going to play our first teams in the US Open Cup. And soccer had to basically intervene and say, yes, you will. And we'll see what happens, but it'll probably be the non-starters in it. And so the US it's quite opposite. I think Americans like to think themselves as capitalist and freedom and all these other things, and our sports systems are very, very closed-ended. But in being closed-ended, it allows for just gigantic investment because there's no possibility of relegation. Mm-hmm. And then with all that investment in the US clubs, a lot of things have been pushed and discovered and enhanced. And so you can take some of those things, like the positives, and use those as case studies for other clubs around the world.
Yeah, no, I have seen various things that they've tried that hasn't taken off, but then when they stick with it, it's like, oh, okay, it does work after a little while, and then as you say, we can steal all those good ideas and get them moving.
Yeah, that's part of my job, is to bring a lot of those good ideas and have everybody kind of discuss them and say, that's a stupid one, that's a good one, that one needs some work, I hate that one.
So that leads kind of onto where I was going to go with. So whilst your desire may be different, your skill set is probably, you would say, off the pitch rather than on the pitch.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's kind of focus on your background to kind of to get where you are. I mean, you've given us a little bit of a taste there, but what's kind of your journey before joining Sutton United, and what kind of experiences and skills do you think you've got bringing to the table? I'm not asking you to justify yourself, just interested to know what it is you're hoping to do.
I'm sure I will not be qualified to a lot of your listeners, but short story, I grew up in California. I was born in the Bay Area, like San Francisco Bay Area. Wanted a different experience than that. And so I went to university in Dallas, Texas, which is the opposite of that. Started at a commercial real estate firm straight out of college. So I graduated over the weekend, started at the company the following Monday, and have been at the company ever since. At age 26, they said, we think you're really great to be a partner, but if we're going to make you a partner, you have to go pick a new city. And so I moved from Dallas to Atlanta. And so I'm currently in Atlanta. That was exactly 15 years ago. I was 26, and I had a 22-year-old intern going into a highly competitive commercial real estate world in Atlanta in 2009, which was probably the worst year for commercial real estate in Atlanta's history. And started from scratch. Didn't have any clients, didn't have one book of business, nothing. And it was just a desk and one individual. And so over 15 years, I've grown that from one person to 110 people. And in doing so, there's just so many things you can learn that are illogical, and you just have to experience as a small business owner. And so I think through that, that really helps with like the organization processes, what works, what doesn't, hiring, driving revenue or turnover, and just how to run an organization like that. Over the last few years, been involved with the Atlanta Braves, which is a giant baseball team. Their commercial real estate and property around the stadium is heralded as one of the best projects in the world. So I've had some exposure to that. We built apartments near Mercedes-Benz next to Atlanta United, which is Atlanta United has one of the best attendances worldwide. I think they average over 60,000 people for MLS, which is fantastic. I really think it's like top 15, top 20 in the world for attendance. And so having experienced those organizations and seen some of those things, ways to drive revenue, because really ultimately you have to be really good off the pitch to be good on the pitch. With the EFL and what you can spend on players, there's caps, right? It's 50%. And so for us to be a better football club, we have to drive revenue so that we can get better players, and then we can produce better results on the pitch. And you have to have those two things in unison, because you can outperform in either category, but really the one to focus on is off the pitch, because ultimately you can buy results in football, as sad as that is.
Yeah, true. So in your career sort of so far, what if someone's saying to you, just having a chit chat, and you go, do you know what, I want to make myself sound really good to this person, I want to show them the halo, what's your best sort of achievement? What are you most proud of? And not necessarily bringing in most money, but what are you most proud of as an achievement?
Gosh, I mean, we've won awards. Like our company in Atlanta has won Best Place to Work many years. One year we got the #1 distinction. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
We've won awards for projects that we've done, really in the right way, redevelopment projects. I don't know. To me, like, talk is really cheap. I would say, everybody knows everybody at the club. I mean, talk to the other board of directors, talk to some of the employees over there. They'll tell you if I'm full of it or not, honestly.
No, do you know what? Although you might not think you've answered the question, you have answered the question, because a lot of people will always focus on the next thing. And okay, we've achieved that. Move on. What's next? What's next? What's next? And you very much kind of just said, and I can say, right, you're focused on the next project. You'll look back in 20 years' time and go, oh, I like that. That was good. So you've mentioned you started looking at clubs a while back, investment opportunities. Obviously, for us here, we've got a different type of investment. We're invested with the heart, not the brain. So what kind of attracted you to Sutton United specifically? What were there any particular aspects of the club or the communities that you kind of went, that's what I like? Yeah,
again, I don't want to overstate anything. Like, we're very small. We're not the majority. This isn't a takeover or anything like this. This is just, hey, can you put something in to prove that our interests are aligned? is where it is. And so to me, it's all about the people. I think the amazing thing about Sutton is it has everything that money can't buy, and really it starts with the people, and just being welcomed and encouraged and embraced was truly what drew me to Sutton. As an outsider, you kind of, no way would people accept new ideas and new energy and collaboration. But in all honesty, it's been the people. And so, again, I've talked to people in the club that I've been working with, and I think they'll echo that sentiment. But that's truly it. It's irreplaceable.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've written this down for somewhere later. It's a really strange kind of period for the club, because you've got the old fans who have been there watching crowds of 300-400, sort of averaging 800 odd, and then suddenly just this huge growth, and now there's 3,000. And it's like, well, yeah, we've got to cater for the old fans, but actually, let's just remember the new fans actually outnumber us old fans a little bit. So we've kind of got to, we've got to move with the times. And we'll talk about the sort of revenue thing later on, because again, that pricks up different ears for different reasons. So I wanted to come back to that. I wanted to talk to you about timings, because your announcement came very in the middle of or just after news that we were flagged for having an issue with the tax office. Now, it was obviously not a big issue because we're Sutton United and it was able to be cleared up within a week. So therefore, it can't have been much more than about 15 quid. But did you kind of think, oh my God, what have we got ourselves into here? Or did you kind of just go, oh, well, that's an unfortunate blip? I mean, I don't want the details of it, by the way, just your thoughts on the timings of it.
Yeah, that took me by surprise because we've been working together since the summer and was focused there, was not in the club at the time of that. But it was very close to my onboarding, and that came out of nowhere. We ended up, obviously got it sorted very, very quickly, but that was. I think we've all have gotten that text or email or phone call where your heart drops, and that is exactly how I felt. I remember where I was when I found out about that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that whole situation, obviously with the benefit of hindsight and now rational thought, I can see that's just unfortunate timing. But it was we're under a transfer embargo, which didn't mean anything because we couldn't transfer players anyway. And then there's a tax problem. There's new investors. The tax problem's gone away. They've obviously invested loads of money, and that's it. So that's where a lot of the assumptions have jumped on. So then, kind of less than 2 months into the role, the decision was made to relieve Matt from his duties. I don't know how much you're kind of aware on social media, but there's a fairly healthy number of people that apportion blame / credit to the American investors. Now, obviously, you've already cleared up this investment thing, but what was your kind of view, involvement, timeline of events? If I don't want exact specifics, but again, how involved was the whole board on this, or was it a smaller decision? Don't want names, please don't say names.
Yeah, no, I can't. I really want to. I think that's a difficult time because of the transition and kind of moving as a bigger club competing in League Two, League One, and all these ambitions. Ultimately, it's a board vote is how it happens.
Mm-hmm. And again, how involved were you in the process of selecting a new manager? Or again, is that just a general chit chat?
Yeah.
These are the names.
Heavily involved, and try to do a process. It's interesting. I have a social media account, but generally I'm not on social media. But some of the things I saw is like, what's taken so long? How come they don't have anybody? And kind of the realization for me is that if you're going to do it truly right and honest and honor your previous coach and manager, it actually takes quite a bit of process. So once it was known that we were in the market, we collected maybe 30 to 40 CVs. Mm-hmm. Which speaks volume of the club that 30 to 40 individuals are like, that's a good club that I want to be a part of and I want to attach my career to. So we got 30 to 40 CVs, and then we had sporting people more or less come up with a short list, and then we went from there. I think the sporting people coming up with the short list is really great. So then you don't have Americans choosing who the candidate or there's people with long history with the club, and there's agents and personalities, and as everybody always says, football is full of opinions. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of opinions, and I think we took all that out of it and really had the sporting people focus on who's truly really good at their craft. Mm-hmm. And then once that short list was there, that's what we went from. But to do multiple rounds of interviews, negotiations, sifting through all that takes a lot of time, especially over Christmas. And so kind of the realization is if anybody hires a manager shortly after sacking another one, that means they had that person lined up and were working behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And so, I think we can, truly take an oath and say we did the process right and we ran as fast as we could, but it took over 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of the clubs that people were jumping up and down saying had appointed someone already. Colchester, they're on their third manager of this season, so it's like, well, they've got a process. They know what they're doing. We haven't sacked a manager in, as far as we could work out, nearly 70 years. So we have a slightly slower process to do this. I'm not saying we did sack anyone 70 years ago, but that's how far back anyone could remember. It was right, but yeah, I do get football fans essentially are just panic merchants, as I say. This single piece of news will be taken dramatically one way or dramatically another way, and when we find the answer is a very boring answer in the middle, it's like, oh, okay, I shouldn't have panicked there, but we do.
Yeah, I mean, we went as fast as humanly possible, doing it the right way, running a true open process based upon merit, and that took a lot of time. It was really helpful that Jason did such a good job with the team. And, I think they played great. I was at the Plymouth match, flew from Atlanta to Heathrow, landed at Heathrow, had a couple meetings, jumped in a car for 4 hours, drove to Plymouth. I saw that game Saturday, which, I thought for 70 minutes, they looked fantastic against a very difficult side away. And then, got back in at, 11 midnight like everybody else.
So the couple thing I'm going to come back on is when you mentioned revenue. Now, to the older Sutton fans, that means, we're going to have to find another way of putting our hands in our pockets, because generally revenue meant we need another way of getting money from the same people. But you're not about that. So you're already shaking your head as I'm forming the question. You're not about that. So talk us again with the context of you don't need to give specifics if they're not relevant or appropriate at the moment. What kind of things are we talking about revenue-wise?
There's a lot of things. Generally speaking, there's capacity at Gander Green. Like we don't need to build a bigger facility. We have tickets to sell every match, and we're not sold out every match. So again, it's not the existing fan base and trying to extract more pounds from them, but attracting new people. I think the thing that we go back to as a club is there was 15,000 people at Wembley, and so figuring out how to welcome them back to the club, I think is really important. And we need to look inward on that and try to create a desirable offering to attract people and people close by. Kind of the great thing about Sutton is it's in London, but it's also a little bit of an island. It's kind of difficult to get around, especially by car. And there is a lot of population within, call it a 5 mile radius of the club. And so figuring out a way to welcome and bring in new people. I think if we just do that's a wonderful solution, and you have a really competitive club against its peers in League Two. So that's one way. Sponsorship and events and hospitality, we can grow there. And again, it's not taking more from the existing. It's trying to attract new in all three of those categories. We're even doing some things that are, call it, detrimental to revenue, and we're trying to work out a partnership with the Royal Marsden. I lost my dad to cancer in November. I have a best friend whose son just completed and won a battle against cancer. I have multiple friends with multiple myeloma. And so, cancer is very much on the heart of me. And I think one of the greatest things going on in Sutton right now is the Royal Marsden. And so we had a meeting with them last week, and we're trying to do a lot more hospital visits and different things to give back to the Marsden, which is doing so much and is world renowned for its cancer research. So we're doing some things to enhance revenue and some things to potentially give back. And so that's how we're focused. I think if we just do incrementally better, the club is going to outperform its peers.
Yeah, I actually work in a department in the council, and it still bewilders me that we have this hospital just up the road. It's just up the road, it's fine. And then you hear about people coming from all over the world today, because I deal with people moving in and out of the borough, and it's like they've moved to Sutton to be close to the hospital, and it's like, it just blows my mind that we've got this facility that most we don't realise. I'll be honest, we all know it's there, but we don't realise the extent of it throughout the world. The other sort of thing I was going to mention is you mentioned with the Atlanta Braves, the commercial real estate.
Yep.
Now, obviously, you mentioned Sutton's a funny little area, but what could that look like, and what does that mean? Does that mean that we would buy potentially retail properties and rent them out, or what kind
of? No, so I mean, Gander Green is a great facility on a train stop in London, in the borough of Sutton, which is that is an incredible thing in itself, and the land associated with it. There's not like that's like further way further down the road. Ultimately, that facility will need to be improved if you want to compete in League One and Championship, right? Like but that's, to me, that's not even like a focus right now. We're just trying to get off from the bottom of the table, and we're living match to match, and there's no near-term ambition to get the cranes out and start building a brand new facility. Like we would have to pay for that ourselves, and we're just focused on what's at hand right now, and that's not why we're
that's not there. Well, on that, I mean, I'm presuming it's been mentioned and discussed at board level that obviously any of these building works will leave my spot on the curve just intact and won't touch it. And
absolutely,
yeah, good, yeah.
The boom boom room has to stay for eternity.
Yeah, but so looking at you mentioned the kind of pie in the sky, and I'm going to come back to that. But what is the what can we kind of expect to see in the short term, long term? I mean, what are some quick wins? You mentioned there's already a few things you've started, but what are some sort of quick wins that we're going to see and go, oh, okay, that makes sense?
Gosh, honestly, we're really focused, and there's a lot of really bright minds focused on quick wins on the pitch. Really is the focus right now. There's a lot of ambition to help drive the game day experience and make small improvements, but I mean, I would not look for anything more than paint and cleanup and different things like that. Maybe some promotions. I'm not trying to lower expectations, but everybody at the club is just keenly focused on staying in League Two right now, and that is where a lot of the effort is focused. And I'd say some of the commercial side of things are a little bit more of a issue for tomorrow, and right now it's just what happens on Saturday.
Yeah, future Ben's problems. It's not current Ben's problems. Yeah,
I mean, we're all working. I can send, I can show you tons of email, like just this today on, Barrow initiatives and what we're doing there and trying to make things better every single every single match. We're really focused on trying to have a great team out there.
Yeah, it's the phrase I use at work is manage expectations, not lower them, manage them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's dial this back a little bit, guys. I think one of the issues that, as someone new coming in to any organization, will always face is people go, oh, we can't do that, or we tried that 10 years ago, or something like that. So that's one of the things of I'm not just talking about specifically at Sutton, is the culture is always, well, it doesn't matter, we tried it 10 years ago, it didn't work 10 years ago, but 10 years ago a lot of those people that didn't work for are dead. Let's move on to the new people. But if we could remove any objections, money, legislation, people, what would be your kind of dream ambition project for Sutton United? So this isn't anything that's going to happen. This is where you're going, do you know what? If everything panned out beautifully and slotted into place, this is what Sutton would look like in 10, 20 years.
Oh, man. It's difficult to dream on a live stream. But honestly, everybody's been really supportive, and I think it would surprise everyone with how open people are inside the club to new ideas and trying to do everything. It's more of a collaboration, I think. I'm giving you a mealy-mouthed answer like that. But yeah, I'm sorry.
You weren't prepped on the questions, so you're getting these questions fired at you. So
I appreciate you saying that live. Look, I think really that I enjoyed Plymouth, and part of the reason why I traveled, 14 hours to go to the Plymouth match was because I think they're a really good example of a sustainable club. And Simon Hautt is on a lot of podcasts, and I encourage everybody to listen to it. There's a great podcast, I think it's The Business of Football, where Simon Hautt, the majority owner and chairman of Plymouth, talks about what happened there, because it's kind of a similar thing. He came in when I think they were bottom of League 2 at the time, and then has gradually worked them up to championship, and they have a wonderful facility. And you were there, right? Yeah.
In Plymouth, no. I rarely leave the M25.
Well, Sutton was well represented, really, really loud. I mean, they let us bring in drums, which was nice. And I think for those who made the trip out there, that is the ambition. I think that is the high watermark for what this club could be within call it near-term reality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say the dream is Plymouth, but there's definitely a lot of things like that club, breaking even, being sustainable, having wonderful facilities, playing in the championship. Like, that is an incredible ambition. And I think it's a good listen for some of your listeners as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely things that, it's not stealing ideas, it's good practice. That's the word I was looking for. Is like when we went to Accrington Stanley, a load of the fans came back and was like, wow, that was the best fan experience we've had. And there were a few ideas that came back straight away going, well, we've got the door from the bar to the ground. We just need someone standing there with a scanner, and that's really easy to implement. And it was put in, I think, a week or so later, and it was like, yep, that's one idea we can take and do straight away and run with it. So yeah, people do kind of look around all the time and see the ideas. Some of them are easier to put into place than others. But yeah, you've mentioned the Plymouth match. I know there's at least one other game you came to at Gander Green Lane, but how many games kind of have you attended so far?
I'll get chastised, but 2 matches this year.
No, that's fine. We lost them both. So
no.
Oh,
I was at the Crawley Cup. We won in PKs.
Oh, okay. God, that's a midweek match as well against Crawley. Wow, you must have been keen.
want to come as much as possible. So it's fantastic. I absolutely adore coming and seeing and being involved, and it really is a blessing and an opportunity.
Yeah, well, I know there's sort of a group of fans in Texas, the Lucky Star Gym guys, who also listen. Do you watch on iFollow as well, or do you kind of catch up afterwards? Yeah, you do.
No. I pay for an iFollow subscription.
You need to have a little word with them. But we're going to kind of start wrapping up, because I've had lots of your time. But what kind of message would you like for the Sutton fans to sort of take away from this for your role? And you've mentioned a couple of times impacting their experience. I mean, as I mentioned, this is where I've said it. We're an odd mix. We've got old fans who just will rock up no matter what the weather, no matter what's going on, not overly interested in halftime entertainment and stuff. And then new people go, come on, entertain us, do something.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to be a part of the club, and I feel welcomed by those within it, and that's really my message. I'm trying as hard as I can to help lift up the club. I think those from inside the club will attest to a lot of effort and drive to do that. Thank you, I guess is what I would say.
Oh, beautiful. Before I wrap up, what color is that top you're wearing?
It was the closest thing to amber.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's the one time I'm not wearing chocolate and amber as well. Wonderful effort. Thank you very much. We're going to wrap up this episode of Sutton Podcast. As always, appreciate your attention, everyone. I remembered to get the attention cup out. And follow, like, share, give your feedback on social media on all the episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and review. Please remember those likes on while you're at it. Next time, we always thank you to our guests, Ben, and thank you to Lucky Star Gym, our sponsors. This is the last recording of my 40s. Some people have seemed equally shocked that I'm this young and this old. I'm for the people who are shocked that I'm this old, but hey, whatever, I'll take it. We'll see a load of you on Saturday, and we will be back on Sunday with Sarah and Claire. Get those questions sent in. Don't get too many questions for Claire. Save some for the fans forum, which is on the 24th. I'm fairly confident it's the 24th, but we will definitely talk about that on Sunday as well. Take care, and we will catch up soon. Thank you very much, Ben. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
United!